Okay, one of the next things we need to do is our Maggie Marcopul Award. And we just took a little bit of time to put some slides up here for you, because if you're not quite as old as I am, and that's most of the room, you maybe don't remember Maggie, but she was prevention. She was prevention from the top of her head to the bottom of her soles. She just was tireless in the work. She was from the eastern side of the state, but we still loved her in the west. She was one of my very first trainers, and we were doing a training about, imagine this, 25 years ago, we were doing the first training on building coalitions. Can you imagine that? And look, here we are today. We've got some coalitions that we're actually going to be really singling out for their good work. So when I went into this, the first thing she did after she introduced herself was she broke into song. I thought, my goodness, this prevention field is going to be fun. She was passionate, committed, and she was a leader, and she was a trainer extraordinaire and a good singer. And she was an excellent role model for the field. Above all else, she was fair, full of energy, professional, and she was flamboyant. And this is some pictures about her. She tirelessly filled a gap in prevention. She assisted in developing the first coalition training, which was Community Visions, where I was, and she sang 25 years ago. She assisted in the development of the prevention ethics that we now have. And she was instrumental in the credentialing process for the CPS certification. Nominees for this award are chosen because of their service, their leadership, their political advocacy, and their education. They exhibit professionalism, commitment, leadership, dedication, and innovation. And here are some of our award winners from the past. We started this in 2009. Sylvia Lefcourt, Jack Carroll, Patty Karn, Adrian Tomlinson, Linda Chicka. Look at that, huh? How fun is that? Debbie Moskovich. I'm here, you know me. Donna Keene. And for this year's award winner, I would like to invite up Melanie Swanson, which was last year's award winner. So Melanie, if you'd come up and you'd do the honors of our award for this year. Thank you.
Okay, good morning. It's great to see everybody here. I just want to say that it was an extreme honor last year to receive the award, and I know our award winner this year feels the same way. Debbie had asked me to do the introduction for this year's award winner, and I have to say I was so excited when I got to meet her, because although she serves Lehigh and Northampton counties, she is a native of Bucks County. So, which I of course am from Bucks County, and of course all counties come together to make CPA great, but it was just exciting to see that 6 degree of separation, serendipity occur, because Maggie Marcopul, of course, was from Bucks County as well, but again, served the entire state. So, also, I discovered that our award winner is a native of the Neshaminy School District, a graduate of Neshaminy School District. I am the community mobilizer for the Neshaminy area, Neshaminy Coalition for Youth. So it just seemed like a great way to pass the torch on to our award winner this year. So also, she had asked me if when we met, she said, "Weren't you the one that did the drug take back?" And I said, "Yes." And she actually is interested in bringing a team to come see what we do in Bucks. So again, just another example of the networking that we do, the collaboration that we do, and how important that is. And actually, that those are some of the critical skills that gave Arlene the award. She was nominated a whole host of wonderful skills that she has and brings to the table, and those were among them. And personally, I think are some of the most important skills that we can offer as prevention specialists to the work that we do. So I can't resist this opportunity while I'm up here because the take back came up to just say that. And I think this is a testament to, again, our collaboration, the networking that we do, the great work that we do in Bucks County this year at the last Take Back Day, which was April this year. We actually reached a milestone. So since the inception of the program in Bucks, which was September of 2010, we actually have now surpassed 100,000 pounds of medications collected in Bucks County. So that's 50. We actually have, I think it's 53.6 tons of medications. So. Thank you. So anyway, I just had to mention that, but also, again, I know many of you are involved in that, and I thank you all for your work in that, and I know that's actually something that is of very of passion and importance to Arlene Lund, who is this year's award winner. So I actually do want to read I'm not going to read all of it, but because actually the person who nominated her, Teresa Krohn, she wrote basically a novel about Arlene. So I'm not going to read the whole thing in interest of time, but I do want to read some of that and then bring her up here to receive her award. So the efforts of one person can truly make a difference. Since becoming the executive director of the Center for Humanistic Change in July of 2016, Arlene has devoted her efforts to making sure that the Center for Humanistic Change provides the most comprehensive prevention education programming in the Lehigh Valley. She's been a big part of the collaborative effort between CHC, the Center for Humanistic Change, and the Northampton County Heroin and Opioid Overdose Task Force. In 2017, this partnership proved fruitful when, with the help of Two Rivers Health and Wellness, the Northampton County Heroin and Opioid Overdose Task Force was awarded a Pennsylvania Commission on Crime and Delinquency state grant, which allowed CHC to provide its exclusive locally designed heroin and opioid prevention education, or HOPE program, to over 15 work sites, reaching approximately 850 people. Arlene continues to make the heroin and opioid prevention education program the heart of her work. In 1999, while working with the United Way of the Greater Lehigh Valley, she initiated and directed the Lehigh Valley Alliance on Aging, a community coalition formed to improve quality of life for older adults. Her passion for working with this population has inspired her to focus outreach to older adults aged 55 and older in the Lehigh Valley to raise awareness of the heroin and opioid epidemic, educate them on the risks of misusing prescription and illicit opioids and how misuse can lead to addiction, heroin use, and overdose, reinforce the message that addiction is a disease, provide education on the proper disposal and safe storage of medication, and begin to eliminate the stigma that addicts and their loved ones face on a daily basis. Arlene strives to utilize every available resource in her efforts to raise awareness about this issue. In addition to this work, Arlene has worked in other nonprofits and with at-risk populations for more than 3 decades. Her professionalism, dedication, and values through her involvement in these organizations has allowed her to continually deliver their missions, all of which have a common theme of building strong communities, helping people help themselves, and providing individuals with the tools and knowledge to make healthy, informed, and positive life choices. Arlene is also deeply committed to and involved in working with the Liberty High School Alumni Band and Friends of Music Incorporated. Her exceptional leadership, strategic, operational, and fundraising skills allow her to continue her focus on building strong community relationships and partnerships. So with that, I would like to introduce this year's Maggie Marcopul Award winner, Arlene Lund. Thank you, Arlene. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, I have to remember breathe. So thank you so very much. This is such an honor to be the recipient of this award. And it humbles me to be recognized as having the qualities that made Maggie the person that she was. So I was so grateful that you gave that history and gave pictures. Thank you very much. I did not know Maggie, but I, like Maggie, have been blessed with just intrinsic passion and commitment to help others, particularly in the field of prevention. For as long as I can remember, it was just part of who I was. No one trained me to do that. It was just a passion of mine. But even more, I've been blessed also to be part of a team that consists of family, wonderful husband, children, extended family, and then my work family and my colleagues, who are really the unsung heroes in my work. Phil Jackson, former American professional basketball player, coach, and executive in the National Basketball Association, once said, "The strength of the team is each individual member, and the strength of each member is the team. It is from the full team that I pull my energy and commitment. So please allow me for just 1 minute to credit my family, my friends, my staff, our community, including Joe, who is representing Lehigh and Northampton County Office on Drug and Alcohol. If we could just have them stand for a minute and give them a hand, please. Thank you so very much. My personal story with prevention began as a young child, living in a household with three other children, and parents who drank too much, fought fiercely, and did not have the tools to make the changes in their lives. I spent many hours hiding in a closet during these epic battles to avoid the involvement in the drama and not to get caught in the physical crossfire of the fighting that was occurring. You know, it was until yesterday I thought I was the only one who hid in a closet until our speaker stood up yesterday. However, I have to tell you, out of the 4 siblings, I was the lucky one. I had a group of caring adults, mentors, that realized I needed help. Although the Times did not support mandatory reporting, these adults were extremely creative in their approaches to provide me with safe retreats and the life skills I needed to get through high school, college, and to continue through the rest of my life. Without these adults, I would not be the person I am today. Not all of my siblings are as fortunate as me. My dear brother Rich, who is not able to be here with me today, did not have a safety net of prevention services. At age 13, he was diagnosed with a rare and often fatal form of cancer. He had over 5 years of chemotherapy and radiation, the first 2 years involving treatments that went 5 days a week for 2 years. During this time period, you can imagine a 13-year-old not able to attend high school, as other kids did. And at the same time, his 2 older sisters were off at college, so he didn't have the support and the people there to help him. My parents, who in a very misguided attempt to help him, provided him with alcohol and marijuana to soothe his pain. I can remember the day I came home and found plants after plants of marijuana growing on our windowsills and taking it out to the fireplace in the yard and saying, "Mom, you can't do this. We have to get rid of this before somebody sees it." But what hope was there for this 13-year-old boy? Where was prevention when he needed it? Where were those caring adults? He struggled through high school, had what I'll call interactions with our justice system, and had so many DUIs and driving without an approved license that he did not get his license back until he was 42 years old. But somewhere in this journey, in his early 20s, someone stepped forward to help him and to provide him with the life skills that my parents could not provide. When given a chance at a do-over, Rich had the inner strength to make these changes. Today, he has not only survived this unbelievable cancer, but he is a proud father, grandfather, and husband. He is an owner-operator truck driver who right now is somewhere between here and Erie, Pennsylvania. And most of all, he is the best brother that a sister could ever have. He is my inspiration. He is my hero. He is the reason I am so passionate about what I do. Because in prevention, you might start and you might not see the results until 10 or 20 years later. So every time I look at him, I see a young child, and I see that there is hope. His story demonstrates to me why prevention is so important and should be made available to people of all ages at all times. I do not know the name of the individual who made that life-changing moment, had that moment to make a difference in his life. But I can tell you, someone providing prevention education made that difference. There may actually have been many people who helped him to turn his life around in his early 20s. But that's okay. I don't need to know who that individual it is, because I can look in this room and I can look into each one of your eyes, and I can see that person in you today. So thank you very, very much, and thank you for the work that you do.
Thank you, Arlene, for those wonderful words of encouragement for all of us out there doing prevention. Well, award time is not over, and we're moving on a little bit here. I'd like to bring up Kathy Collier. Kathy's on our board of directors, and she's going to talk to you for a few minutes, and then we're going to hear about the nominees for the Coalition of the Year Award.
Am I supposed to be advancing
I don't have
things?
any idea.
Okay, because apparently our session is going to expire. I don't know what that means or why. There's not a cancel option. I have the option of go to settings. Let's try this one. There we go. All right. So I don't know if there are.
There is might be something on there. You'll find out.
There we go. Okay. Hi, I'm Kathy Collier, and I am here today representing the Pennsylvania. It's the Prevention Coalition Advisory Council for Pennsylvania, and we really are a group of people who recognize that there's a lot that goes into that world of prevention, and there's a lot that goes into that word coalition, and it means different things in different times, and there isn't really one place to go for that sort of storehouse of knowledge or keeping of best practices. So about 5 years ago, when Communities That Care was approaching its 20th anniversary in Pennsylvania, we drew together a group of people and said, how do we retain this history? How do we retain this knowledge? How do we have a way to say, this is what we mean when we say Prevention Coalition, and this is who we are, and this is what we do. And we've had some fits and starts over time, really trying to figure out what is that. And one of the first things we did was really broaden our membership to not just Communities That Care coalitions, to look at different models and different types and different representations, and really to just be a place where we could come together and talk about this work, because it's kind of hard work to describe to people who aren't in it. Prevention in general is hard to describe to people who aren't in it. They might be able to think of perhaps a commercial where an egg is being fried in a skillet and they think that's prevention, or maybe they had DARE or something along that way, but very rarely do they understand that this isn't just ideas that are thrown at a wall, and when one sticks, we say, ooh, let's run with that one. There's actual science and practice behind this, and if you do it the way that it's meant to be done, these outcomes can happen. So we took that notion and then said, okay, let's apply it to coalition work, because if they don't know about prevention, people seem to know even less about coalition. They really think it's either a group of people with nothing better to do with their time but gather and complain about something, or an angry mob with pitchforks that are running after a problem. And they very rarely realize that there is a process and a practice, and that we have a purpose, and we're actually intentional in our work. So we came together, and one of the first things that we did as a group is we created that white paper that said, and I think it was 2 years ago at this conference that we handed it out, this is what Prevention Coalition is, and these are best practices, and this is the research behind it. And if you do this the way in which it is meant to be done, you can have those healthy outcomes for all youth. But we also want to be more than just the saying we are valid and we are important. We really also want to be a place that we can celebrate some of the success of this work. As Arlene mentioned, you sometimes are not ever going to be around to actually see that what you did in prevention had the outcome that is intended. There are people in this room who have been in the work 20, 30, 40 years, so they have had the opportunity to see communities go through that change. But we very rarely get to pinpoint and say, that child, I did that, our group did that, our coalition did that. So it can seem like very hard and very endless work, and we want to take those moments to celebrate successes along the way, which is why as a group, we have also begun to be the proponents of the Coalition of the Year Award, to try to reach out to groups and really say, you don't have to have changed your entire community to apply for this. You don't have to be able to say, we eradicated all problems. You've done good work along that continuum that it takes to get from the place that you're at to the healthy community you're building for all your youth. So with that in mind, I'm here today to name the nominees for the Coalition of the Year Award, and then to also announce the honoree. So I'm going to call each of your groups up, and we do have a certificate for every one of the nominees. So I'd like you to come up one at a time as a group. I'll hand you your certificate to the extent possible. Step back on this podium, and then I will also name the honoree and give them the award. So the first group is Armstrong, Indiana Clarion Drug and Alcohol Commission. And now this is telling me I need a username and a password to move forward on this, so I'm not even going to try. You keep telling me I have cancel options, but they like to say close, so, I'm very literal. You have to. All right. So, Armstrong, Indiana, if you would come join me. This is Jennifer McCloskey representing her group. Our next group is Chichester Communities That Care. Allie Evans will come up to represent her group. Yes, please do not fall off the back of the podium. And then the final nominee, Carn City Communities That Care, and it will be Jeff Hogan coming up, representing his. And it is my great pleasure to award the Coalition of the Year Award to Jeff and the Carn City Communities That Care. I'm going to take this from you because this one's heavy. And if you just take a moment.
So I have to write stuff down or I forget. First, as I prepared, they told us all, think of some things you want to say thank yous for. The first thing I thought was just to be nominated with great coalitions like this was amazing. So I want to give them a round of applause for all the hard work that they're doing in their coalitions. I will try to make it through this without crying, but I'm probably not going to. I want to thank PCCD because it didn't make it very far. Our coalition wouldn't have started, it wouldn't exist without the funding provided by this group to help start us. I wanted to thank CPA for hosting this great conference every year. I don't know about everybody else, but I learned so much being here, and it's such a great experience meeting so many people. I genuinely enjoyed meeting everybody that I've talked to this week and all of the personal interactions we've had. I want to thank our school district that's been super supportive of getting our programs in place and getting things going. I have to joke for a second. folks often ask me, how do you get so much support from your school district? And I say, it's not been that hard since I invited our superintendent's mother-in-law to sit on our board of directors, Marcia Keppel's sitting right up front. I say that tongue-in-cheek. She hasn't joined our coalition because of that. She was our school nurse, and she's so involved with youth in our community, and she's the chairperson for our youth coalition, and she does an amazing job working with all of our kids in the school, but my other story sounds better. I want to thank Butler County that helped to write the initial grant that formed our coalition in conjunction with the school district. And Beth Neveu, I've said her name wrong all week, so I'll say it right this time. Beth Neveu was so instrumental in doing that. I want to thank the school district and the superintendent, Mr. Ritzert, and all of the administrators that we've worked with. I want to thank Miss Elizabeth Eckley-Winder, who's been my technical assistant and took me from not knowing this field in 2015 to feeling like I know more now. I won't say, I know a lot, but I feel like I know a lot more now, and I'm really appreciative. Gonna miss her a lot in that role, but I'm glad that she's still working in the field, and she began kind of 3 years ago as my technical assistant, and now I think she's my friend. So I want to thank all of our amazing volunteers within our coalition. I'm our only paid employee. Our coalition is composed of volunteers from across the community, our retired superintendent, previous teachers, pastors, parents, local government members, as many of the categories from the community, different groups that we're supposed to pull into communities that care that we can get. I'm appreciative for all of their hours and time, and as we've done trainings, listening to me talk like this for hours on end. I want to thank my wife who's sitting up front. She's been here at the last 3 conferences. Some now know her as Mrs. Jeff, some know me as Mrs. Melissa, but Melissa Hogan right up front. She let me switch careers. I had a really good job. Close. She has been so supportive and letting me find what is my passion. I want to thank my parents who have my 3 beautiful daughters right now so that we can be here and do things like this. And as I travel to meetings all over the state, I couldn't do these things without the support network that I have. I told you I'd cry. Thank you very much. So I want to thank Marcia Keppel, who's sitting here, who's come to the last 2 CPA conferences because she loves the work that this group does, and she attends a lot of youth sessions because she sees the value that it adds there, and we appreciate that. I wanted to thank Lena Southworth because she's here today, not sitting with our coalition up front, but she's a member of our coalition with our youth committee and does great things with our youth group within the school. I wanted to thank all of the folks that share. I know, I got a long list. I want to thank all of the folks that share our social media posts and try to help us get the word out, like Allison Gall and Megan Blevins and everybody else. Danita Bayou Casio, I got that name. Some of you had her for an instructor this week. Those folks, they get on and they share everything, and it helps us to get the word out in our community with what we're doing. I want to thank my church, the First Presbyterian Church of East Brady, for hosting us for a lot of meetings and for financial support, for providing us resources and doing a lot. I don't have a time limit, do I, Debbie?
Yes, you do.
Okay.
And I have a hook.
I have a brief story, okay? So Tuesday morning, I felt a little bit guilty because I wasn't here for the pre-conference, and I wasn't here to help set up. But we had some other things that my wife and I had to do. She had to work all day Tuesday in our school. She's one of our guidance counselors. So I went to our Rotary meeting Tuesday morning. I'm a member of our Rotary also. And we hosted an exchange student from Chile this year, which I learned isn't Chile, it's Chile. And she was an amazing exchange student. She went on and did things with her family, and she loved our little girls. And we met her parents. They were in town to watch her graduate, and we were kind of asking the basic questions with her parents. And one of us asked her dad, what are the biggest cultural shocks that you saw coming to this area? And he spoke very good English, and he said, because of his business, he lives in Santiago, but he travels to Miami and to Chicago and to New York and to cities all over Europe. And he said the culture there tends to be everybody recognizes that everybody has problems. But everybody kind of leaves themselves and says, my problems are my problems, your problems are your problems, and nobody really helps unless there's like a natural disaster, an earthquake or a volcano. Being in Chile, he said that's relatively common, but unless it's a really big one, people don't really band together and try to help each other. He said as he was in our state for the week, he visited Harrisburg, and he was here in State College, and he was in our little area, remote area out in the western part of the state. And he said the biggest thing that's a difference here, he said, is everybody cares about everybody else, and everybody wants to help everybody else. I thought, man, maybe it's good that I was here to hear this, because I thought about that all week as I prepared to come to this conference. That's what all of you do. That's what we do. And that story stuck with me, because he said he's heard all his life about the true American spirit. He said, you hear about it as a foreigner, but he said, I never understood it until I came to Pennsylvania. Last, I know it's cliche, but I wanted to thank God for leading me to this field, and hope that he continues to bless us and lead us in ways that make meaningful change. Thank you.